Thanks for the
My
likes.
I have
favorite part
no
of
idea.
Spanish 1 was having to pick out, like, our teacher made us pick out a Spanish name that we had to use in class. So, like, and it could not be your regular name. You had to choose, like, a different name. And so I went with my middle name because, like, I don't usually go by that, and she did not like my loophole.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
that's absurd.
Um, so
You're
I'm
wrong.
super excited. Look at how many of us there are today. This is
Oh
gonna be. This is gonna be. I'm super excited to have so many people. Hey, Otter Pops. Uh, and I'm excited to talk about this book. I can't tell you how depressed I was last Monday whenever we were like, we're not going to do it today. And I was really looking forward to it because I think everyone's on the same page with this book so far and how much we've enjoyed it. It to the point where I had I started the first law again, and I've got some mention in our outline of some of the tonal differences between these two books. But Joe Abercrombie starts out; he's a fantastic author of incredible wordsmith. I don't know how he gets away with being so wordy. Anyone else who tried to write that many words in every sentence would get slapped down, and somehow this guy makes it work, and he does it well. And it's weird to me as I'm reading it because I'm like, okay, which words would I cut out of these sentences if I were an editor and I was looking at it, and I'm like, it all makes it better. And so that's really difficult to do with how wordy he is. So I'm very excited to talk about this book. I am very excited for our new members. Jen is easy to pronounce. Chelsea, am I saying that right, Chelsea? Just so I can.
Chelsea.
Chelsea. Okay, well, I was saying it completely wrong, which is why I wanted to establish early in the process how I should be doing that. So, Chelsea, I'm going to have to get, like, they have whenever you, in the football games, where they have the phonetic pronunciations typed out. Not that I'm that good at reading those. But
Yeah, it's even more fun the way my husband says it because he says Chelsea. So that's what
don't give me ideas like that because I like that a lot better. Chelsea.
That's our new vocal stem.
Ooh, you know.
Yeah, no, you unfortunately created a real problem for my husband because that's how I'm gonna be saying around my house now.
Chelsea. Especially with
Chelsea.
Balthazar and some of the other interesting accents that we've had in this book so far. So I want to open up with this. The cast from page one was huge, and I want to talk about that because it's very difficult, especially in fantasy, to proper noun load your audience or your readers with this many names so fast. Do you feel like everyone felt distinct very early as he introduced them? How do you feel like he did? We've got Alex, Brother Diaz, Jacob of Thorn, Baron Rickard, Balthazar, Baptiste, Sonny, and Viga. We've got 8 people. I mean, a full fellowship in less than 50 pages. How did we do? Were y'all confused or did you feel good with it?
I'm gonna be 100% honest with everybody because, like, the whole first bit, I was like, okay, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna remember that. And then I was like, as the chapters progressed and each character had their own moment, it gave me something to identify with that character, and then it made it easier to remember their names and who was who and what role they were, you know, enacting. And so that made it easy. But the whole first part where everybody was just like, or where Joe was like, boom, 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 boom. Here's your cast, guys. I was like, ah.
It was ambitious. It was
It
a
was
little
a lot.
scary. It was scary whenever he did it. But you mentioned something there about how their personalities felt distinct. Did it jump out to anyone? Any like some of his tricks of the trade, so to speak, his methods of getting the personalities to stand out? What did you see on that? Our creative writing resident expert, Dylan. What did you think about from a craft standpoint?
I think it's very similar to how he wrote in the Blade itself, like introducing all those characters. Like each moment that he writes somebody in, the way he describes them, the way that he writes the dialogue, like it's that character. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
it stands out. Like especially because like same thing. Like when I was reading this, I was like, hold on, and I like went and grabbed my first law copy, like you said, and I was like, let me just I have to like look. So like going back and looking at that stuff, I was like, I can see how he's evolved as a writer,
Yes.
right? But at the same time, he still hits those marks as like he makes me like this character is this character, and then like for sure, like I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. It's the way that he writes, like you said, he fits so many words in a sentence, but because of that, it's painted for me. So I'm like, okay, I see it.
Well, and when they get wordy, it's interesting to me how clearly each of their worldviews come through, and how clearly and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because in introducing these characters, I noticed that this was remarks that I've had, and I was very excited about this book because I've always felt like with a myriad cast, you should switch POVs without changing the narrative. So if we go to a John Gwynne book, okay, and we start out with Shadows of the Gods, we've got like 5 different stories going on. And it was hard for me because you switch from a story I like to a story I don't like, and I get annoyed. Like whenever I'm excited about something happen and you change gears to something I'm less excited about, I get like itchy about it. And this book, we stayed in the same narrative that I was very invested in, but we switched to Vega, and I'm like, more Vega. Like I'm always excited for some Vega, almost as excited as Brother Diaz is. But and then we switched to Balthazar, and I'm just excited. But it's in the same narrative, and so we're in the words that we're using here. It's very efficient in how he's introducing these characters and their personalities. I was extremely impressed with this because it's a tall order to have a cast of 8 characters in the first 100 pages without losing your reader.
I don't necessarily mind like a switching POV as long as the POV we're switching to, we're focusing on the same predicament. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm in the story and I'm like paying attention to what's going on, and then we switch to a character who is nowhere near the situation happening, I am immediately taken out of it.
It hurts.
Did you guys read? Did anyone read Crescent City, Sarah J. Maas? Dude, every time I would get to Ethan's chapters, I wanted to just DNF it, even though I love that author. That's what that reminded me of.
Y'all are gonna get me into the Massverse one day, but
we are.
That day is not today. There's the TBR is long and full of terrors. So I want to ask a question to Jen. You listen to your audiobooks on like 2.7, I think, times.
Oh my gosh.
How do you, it's not that fast, but she listens to them really, really
It's 1.5 speed.
How do you...
Okay, see, that's reasonable.
With the number of words in this book and how Joe Abercrombie is wordy, how do you parse the complexity of his sentences and syntax when going that fast?
I think what I enjoy about Abercrombie is that he's relied on a lot of tropes to get you to advance your understanding a lot faster.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
So we have like a vampire and it's like, okay, I'm a super suave vampire. Got it. Locked in. I know what I'm dealing with. I have a necromancer. I know what I'm dealing with. I got a werewolf and she's kind of a slut and she's kind of like super into this. Like I'm into it. I got it. And then so he's got this ability to lock you in really fast because of the trope. He is not like trying to divert away from it too aggressively. Like you're able to lock into these characters very quickly. And the narrator is doing a fantastic job of using different voices
Yes. Yes.
for each
And
character,
accents, different
and
accents.
helps bring that character to life.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're talking about the voices, and it wouldn't be a fantasy book dungeon podcast without me complaining about something. So,
Here it comes. Yes.
Alex sounds so damn whiny in the audio
Does she?
book that I
It's bad, bro.
hate it. I hate it, and I
It's
want.
so bad.
And I think that this is very much the narrator adding context and intonation into a character that I don't think that I would read it that way on text. And so I have my big asterisk not on Joe Abercrombie, but on the narrator, who has otherwise done a masterful job of this narration and very much enjoy it. But his whiny voice that he uses constantly for Alex, I'm hoping that as the fellowship develops her into the queen that she's supposed to be, some of that goes away, because it makes me not want to like her character when I really want to like her
It's
character.
distracting.
Well, and for me, the story is she's grown up on the streets, right? Like,
Sure.
yeah, she's been through some traumatic stuff, but she's lived on the streets, making her own way for her whole life. And you want me to believe she speaks mousily? Like,
Yeah, she.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
yeah. Okay. So yes. And we're into voices now, and we're beyond the first section of this. I'm gonna hit on the Princess from a Pauper, and I really loved Jen's point on leaning into tropes, because this book has a lot of tropes. Like, it's wild how many tropes it has, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But let's start with this one, the Princess to a Pauper trope. What did you guys think of how this was treated, and her getting snatched away at the beginning and our inciting incident with the Duke, and how this trope was treated in this book so far?
I'd say
But
the
I like
exaggeration
now.
of it is hilarious.
Okay.
So the fact that we get this, there's a lot of swearing involved. We're picking pockets. We acknowledge that we are a dirty thief, like right out the gate. She's trying to steal the combs. Everything that's in there that keeps her, as the story progresses, I imagine all of those skills are actually going to come to serve her in her role as a princess, because she's going into war. So
she
this ability
seemed
that
very
she survived the streets, she can clearly survive the throne.
She's been very uncomfortable up to this point in almost every situation, right? But she's learning from her tutors, who are, learning how to be a queen from a bunch of devils, which I think that's going to be thematic as we go. But
Charmed from a
Chelsinia,
vampire.
hop in, girl. You're new. It's the first rule of Fight Club is that on your first night you have to fight. So talk to us about what you thought about the princess trope.
So for me, it was the fact that someone showed up in the middle of her getting her butt handed to her, that I was just kind of like, come on. So going into the book, like we were talking about tropes, I was like, this is done before. Like, we've been here before.
Like, she's a damsel
but now
at the beginning. Kind of a dirty damsel.
But right. But now, when she was like, okay, maybe I could steal this comb, I was like, okay, you still got it in you. I'll forgive it. Forgive it. I like you. I'm reading it on paper. So
Good.
I do have a different relationship with her. I don't have the whiny voice in my head.
And I don't think I would read it that way. Like, based on the text, I think that the narrator is very much taking some
Trying to
liberties.
pretend he's a little
with
girl.
that. Like, it's just like he's like, it's whiny in a way that I don't like. I think it's more like, You know what I mean? Without getting us kicked off of TikTok for profanity, like less like "oh no" and more like expletive than
Right.
despairing. So, all right, let's talk about Jamal. I mean Balthazar. I mean Jamal.
Oh my gosh, I'm
Okay.
like dying to listen to the
You-
audiobook now.
Thank you for validating me because literally the first time I heard it, I was like, wait. Because like as soon as he like started describing like the binding and like how he gets sick, like physically sick every time he wants to break it, him apologizing literally just sent me because I was like, why is Jamal in this book?
So you said that in the chat, and I heard some of the similar, almost like Arabic intonations, like almost like comically Arabic intonations. And then we get to the point where he grovels to the other sorceress, to the pyromancer. And if you remember that scene, he has to buy time, and he does it by giving her compliments and gushing about her and like her history and all of that stuff. And if you read that in a Jamal voice, it not only sounds like Jamal, in that moment, he very much becomes Jamal. And so I don't know if this is just like a stereotypical thing that white guys have in their head whenever they write characters like this, but because it is a little bit, like roll your eyes, like, you know, it's stereotyping in a way. But at the same time, it was very entertaining when it was Jamal, and it is equally entertaining when it's Balthazar to me. So I have enjoyed that. I'm gonna clip it, and I'm gonna make a Dungeon Crawler Carl post with Joe Abercrombie, and I'm just gonna have to do it. I'm making a post. I just decided right now. Y'all heard it. A lot of my posts that I do on TikTok come from me typing in our little group chat and thinking about things. So there's an idea for content this week. But yes, very much. Other than that, Balthazar, the dual agent, the rebellious teenager. What did we think about him?
I love him.
I love him.
He might be my
Is he?
favorite character, except
Yeah.
Vega exists, so it's a
Vega.
close tie.
There you
It's a
go.
close tie.
Okay.
Yeah, Vega gives me Samantha vibes though, and that's where I'm struggling because I'm like, what book am I listening to?
I didn't even put that together, but we don't get a ton of Samantha POV in Dungeon Crawler Carl, right? But this is how
Sadly.
and this goes to show how utilizing multiple POVs from your favorite characters in a single narrative can really develop them in a way that just staying in the close third person can't. And so Vega, the Wolf, and I don't know if it's spelled Wolf, but it's very got a Scandinavian accent in the audiobook. So I love the Vega Wolf. She is funny and unexpected in her impropriety. So going into that, with how okay, let's skip to one thing. So on the world building, one thing that you said, Jen, is we're leaning in, we're using crutches to world build fast, and
Yes.
that's what's happening. Is that he's got so much content. I feel like his editor said, what can you do to build the world really fast? And one of the things he did is, I'm just going to steal Europe as a map.
Europe.
Oh my gosh, that was so confusing.
And it is,
Bro, every
It's
time.
convenient.
but listen, I know where Venice is. I know where the Mediterranean Sea is. I know geographically in my head, I can picture what's happening in the movements better in this book than I
Virtually is where
can
we're going.
virtually any other fantasy book that I can whenever we're talking about, well, we went to the mountains of this and through the deep gorges of that and onto the plains of this. And I don't I don't picture where we're going in my head that much, you know. And another good example of that is John Gwynn's books, where there's a lot of travel in those books from place to place and from town to town. And I'm not favoring one or the other. There's pluses and minuses because this book has felt cliche at times because of it, but I can't argue with the utility here because I know where we're
Efficiency.
going.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dylan, on that?
Agreed.
Oh, sorry.
I think that if he had used purely a fantasy world that he had built, like with First Law, and doing everything that he's done to establish such a massive cast of characters, it would have been too much for him. Like, even for him, it would have been too much. It would have been too much to try to build around, and people would have probably been like, I don't care if you don't like this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it would have gotten dense. It would have been super dense fantasy wise. And I think why everyone is reacting so positively to the book is while we might roll his eyes at some of the shortcuts he's taken, they have been effective in maintaining pacing in a very, very big world that has been built very, very quickly. And we're not that many pages in, and I really feel like I know what's going on, which is hard to do with
Yeah,
what
it's,
they're
it's
trying to
almost
establish.
like, how do I get people to be engaged in a D&D world setting without having to ask them to learn about Faerun? How do I get people into this, you know, these are, and vampires and werewolves and stuff like that, they're all tropes from our world. Like, they are in our lore and stuff. So I think that, you know, he's not having to build on that and all that. So it just feels like someone's D&D campaign to me in a book form.
Yeah.
And I think that you're
Fair
right.
enough.
Okay,
Uh,
I got a question.
Wrong.
Has anybody read Stardust or watched the movie?
no.
Neil Gaiman?
No.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we've got
I
a
am.
couple. Are we getting
Neil Gaiman's one of my favorites until he got like.
I mean, I don't pay like they all
We're
get
getting some Stardust. But
you die early or you live long enough to become a villain, and
Yep.
I just
Gaiman, unfortunately. Yeah, he
I
was one of
just-
my favorites for a long time.
I enjoy the content. I think Stephen King's gone off the rocker a little bit. I think like just everybody gets a little crazy as they get older, and like they get more politicized. And y'all know I don't. I just want to read the story.
I'm
you know,
convinced it's lead poisoning. I am convinced because they are all of the generation where
Well, like,
lead
oh my
poisoning is
gosh.
very prevalent.
Maybe so. Maybe they've got some mercury in their system. They ate too much swordfish or whatever. But
I'm just saying.
and it's okay to get a little kooky. My parents have gotten a little kooky as they've gotten older, and you know it's just part of life. And you know some of us are kooky, and we're not even old yet, so I can't even imagine where we're going to be 50 years
Fair.
from now. So things go downhill till they stop. So. But going back in here, this is going back to our tropes, going back to familiar stories that we can catch on to. We are building set pieces around the deaths of princes who are rivals in a inheritance game, which is Stardust. Okay,
Yeah.
it is Stardust
Yes.
minus the witch subplot, which becomes the main plot. They intertwine. Very well written book. If y'all haven't written Stardust, politics aside, very well written book. Very entertaining movie, and the book's darker than the movie. They PG-13'd it
Ooh.
up some for the movie.
They usually do.
And that's okay.
Hmm.
I watched it with my daughter. She thought it was very entertaining.
Ah, well.
You know
The
the
movie's whimsical, where the book is dark.
cross-dressing pirates are fun all the time. So.
Oh my
Yeah, our flag means death is like one of the best shows on this planet. Are you kidding?
So yes, like I think we're all together on acknowledging that he took a map that he almost set down a map, built his own D&D campaign, mixing a bunch of very familiar elements, but got us invested in the personalities of the character. And this book is writing on character
Very well.
development right now, and that's the most interesting thing about the book. It's not the narrative, it's not the magic system, it's none of those things. It's the characters and their relationships and how this group interacts with each other. And I feel like in Dungeon Crawler Carl, it's the same thing. He could write a whole book inside of a donut shop with the characters that he's built, and the whole thing could happen in the dumbest setting ever, and it wouldn't matter because we care about the characters. And so those are the most entertaining.
Oh my
books.
God, y'all! So my UPS guy just scared the shit out of me.
We get flagged. We get flagged for language
All the time.
All the time. We gotta have, like, I'm gonna build a
That was my
bot.
first one today, all right? And we're 30 minutes in. Give me some credit.
G
I
I think
know
you're getting
that.
better. You're
GD
getting
Angela.
better.
GD.
How many-
Okay. So
But I was just gonna say that
Sorry.
in anything, that's just really anything. I can do a boring task if I have someone interesting sitting next to me talking to me.
100%.
Oh yeah.
I can do anything with somebody interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that this book is a masterclass in that. Okay, I'll sit here through all this stuff with you because I like these characters and they're a lot of fun.
And it doesn't matter what they're doing because you can put them in almost any setting, and just the tension that they have between each other is compelling and interesting and funny in a lot of ways. Okay, so let's talk about the magic system so far, because we're in the fantasy world. We're reading a
I'll be
fantasy
right back.
book. Get your UPS. Try not to scream. There is a magic system. Have we established a specific type of magic system, or is this like just a generally anything goes fantasy world? It feels like The Witcher to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with
Yeah.
that. It's like not anything goes. It's more like stuff that we might be familiar with in a sense. But I don't know if we've explored enough of the world or seen enough things to really say if there's more or not.
Well, we've got like, soul splicing, right, with the animals and the people, where they're getting sewn together to create this class of monsters. We have almost like levels in an RPG video game. For each new environment we go into, we get a new class of bad guy. At least through part 1 and part 2. I don't know how it's going to finish up, but we have the sea creatures and we have the land creatures so far. And we've got, vampires with glamour.
Balance that with the werewolf existence. Like,
You know,
how do they? What's the difference between that and the werewolf existence? Is
Or a
that a werewolf
vampire.
magic?
We
Is
haven't
that-
turned into a bat, but
Right? Like, how?
It's
Okay.
the
Yeah.
way
I was curious what the lines were between this necromancy skill, these like we change from different animals versus like it's this horrific thing to mess with the souls and put animals in bodies. And I'm like, we kind of already have this, right?
I
A little bit.
point conceded.
what they're talking.
Well, for me, what it felt like the combination creatures were more like a Frankenstein type situation. Versus-
Fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some mad scientist type stuff versus like more magic-y. So maybe, who knows? I'm excited to find out.
Dylan, what were your thoughts?
It all ties back to trope, right? In terms of like we're establishing the trope of what it is. When it comes to Vega, because she's like the Scandinavian Norse-esque like werewolf thing, there's a specific reason in their mythology and all that stuff why they are the way that they are,
Okay.
right? As opposed to these creatures, because like in dialogue it happens where like she kind of explains like, like, no, I'm not them, that type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's I wouldn't say it's like classist, but it's like no, I'm better than them type of thing.
Sure. Well, you have and they do to an extent. Like the characters are imperfect, and they certainly have conflicting motivations between each other, but and are brought together by this compulsion from this child pope, which was interesting as well. But they're brought together that way. But from a magic system standpoint, this is certainly not a Sandersonian fantasy book where I guess some of the modern trends is to be to have a lot of limitations on magic. This book breaks some of that modern trend to have, you know, more of a hard magic system or a very limited magic system. I feel like this is a anything goes D&D board. I think D&D was a very good parallel to draw because there there could be any type of magic in this, and I don't feel like it would break the precedent that has been set so far from the magic system. My next question: we have hints of romantic feelings between some of our characters, and I don't know that if this is Joe Abercrombie's version of a romantasy, if there is such a thing. Is this ever going to be taken seriously, or is it just going to be funny because the priest has a crush on a werewolf, and then Balthazar has a crush on Baptiste, and it's just kind of funny pairings on how they find each other attractive for one reason or the other, or is he ever going to take it a little bit more seriously? What do y'all think?
Okay, I didn't pick this up really until one of you guys said like Sunny and Alex. We're picking up vibes between them, possibly. Maybe.
So
But now
cute.
that I think about it, I'm like, okay, the Empress of Troy, if she like fell in love with an elf who's supposedly like evil incarnate, I think that would be a very interesting plot twist.
I agree. I completely agree because I mean, in how many books, shows, movies have we had
Star-crossed
the
lovers?
star-crossed lovers?
Man, if we hit every other
And-
trope, we might as well hit that one, I guess.
Right?
I'm saying.
I
It would
also,
be
like,
very cool though.
I also think if for any friend group or like social group that sees each other a lot, especially like if you're on a journey together or a road trip, something like people tend to be messing around.
Sure,
You
sure.
know?
I think it's realistic. I haven't read that yet. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not going to go that direction or that it wouldn't be interesting if it did. I haven't read sexual tension between Alex and Sunny yet because I think both of those characters are they're. I don't feel like they're psychologically ready for romance yet. Sunny doesn't know what's going on at all. She's on the spectrum from some level. If I had to describe her, she's like the most neurodivergent of the group, certainly. And
Yeah.
and she very much wants connection and doesn't understand it, but she's so sad. Sunny, every time I get into Sunny, I get like emotional sad because how she interprets affection, how she interprets relationships, how she interprets everything. If you read her sections, they are tragic. And she's very much like the kicked dog who's still seeking affection from the cruel masters, so to speak. And I don't think that anyone in the Devils has treated her poorly. Honestly, quite the opposite. It seems like everyone's treated her fairly well so far, at least from what I've seen. But she's the most tragic character in the book, and it's not close. And Viga's been sad, Viga's been sad too. So
Very quickly,
Sure.
I just need to acknowledge that Douglas in the comments wrote Abercromance, and I have been laughing for like 10 minutes.
Necromance.
Yeah, this is our second necromantasy in a row. Since we established that Night and the Moth was in fact a necromantasy.
100%.
And now we have two necromantasies in a row. We've hit another trope that I wasn't even considering, and it is a trendy trope. Orbitz is it Orbitz or Tor that keeps pushing it on the advertisements? The necromantasy thing, but it is the trendy thing that's happening with writers right now and publishers is necromancy, which is
Hey, a
not
couple
on my
years ago-
2026 bingo card.
A couple years ago, it was ice blue aliens with like ribbing, and now it's necromancy. So
Necromancy. Necromancy.
Necromancy.
Yes.
I like
Bro,
I want to pull back to what you were talking about with Abercrombie and the writing about the sexual tension between the characters,
Sure.
because I think the pairings that we're looking at are those foils that get written in more like enemy type things or a best friend. The way he's written it, it makes it so glaringly parallel that we're looking at, like, you've got the sexual tension between this priest, right? And then you have Viga, who
Well,
is
but
just pure energy, right?
you'd think that that wouldn't make sense, but he became
But it does.
he became a priest because of his philandering, right?
Dalliances.
And so like he
Yeah,
was,
so he's got this suppression mindset while she has this complete, like, do as I think and whatever I feel, it is right. So
Well, if we've
the
learned
paralleling
anything-
of the two of the characters is fascinating.
if we've learned anything from the world, it's that sexual repression due to religion leads to deviance. So Viga is his outlet, and and that wasn't a big political comment on my part. It's psychologically, it's that repression leads to deviance.
Right
okay?
there.
That's psychologically established in the sciences. So I think
Well-
that his attraction is built on a foundation that makes more sense than you'd give it credit for at first glance.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I think
100%.
It's interesting that the authors 100% pulled them together. He's like, what are my most extremes? Pull them together. And then you get your necromancer and Baptiste and their parallels. You know, you got the most selfish person with the most giving person smashed right next to each other. Yeah, they're doing a great job of making these
I'm
characters
I'm
butt up against each other so we can just capture it really quickly.
so excited to see where this goes. So excited to see where this goes. I've not ever been invested in the romantic direction of a book more so than I am in this one, I think, because it's not that I'm rooting for the characters necessarily. I just can't wait to watch what happens with them. So it's very good. But Viga, I will say, let's talk about her for a second, because Viga is he spent a lot of time on Viga compared to what you'd think from her point of view. And I think it's because, like some authors, you just really enjoy thinking from a specific character's point of view. And you can tell that he very much enjoys writing Viga. And I can see why it's entertaining. What are our thoughts? What's the craziest thing Viga's doing? What do you think when you're reading Viga?
I have a hot take.
I don't know, when she's naked and just roaming around doing outrageous things, pretty entertaining.
I have a hot take.
Yeah,
I
pretty
love
hilarious.
just her first chapter was so well done because it really gets you into how crazy she is when she's
And-
in her werewolf form. The writing was masterful.
and there's something about a girl like with a tattoo that says "dangerous" across her chest. That it's hitting a kink for a lot of people. I think that
It's very
Diaz.
it's very reminiscent of like Harley Quinn vibes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
I get
very
that.
much that same energy.
Yeah. If Harley
For
Quinn
me, when
was
she was-
hunting the good meat.
When she was going down
Where is the good
to the
meat?
river,
Yes.
when she was going down to the river and just losing it every like 2 seconds, not knowing what she
Oh
was doing,
my
I was like, "Oh,
gosh.
sweetie, precious baby,
It
oh my
was
gosh!"
sad.
And then
It's
she kept
sad,
saying,
too.
"I was like this before the bite. Before the bite, I was like this." And but just to hear her talk about her mother, oh my
Ah, it was
gosh, how
sad.
loving her mother
It was
was
sad.
to her.
It was
But then
sad.
she even doubts her own mother when she has that encounter in the house,
in the illusionist
and
house.
the illusion is telling her things that she always thought her mother really felt, And I was like, baby girl, no. It broke my heart.
It was sad. It was sad. Sunny was sad. Viga was sad. There's a lot of emotion underneath the comedy here that Abercrombie's developing well. But you bring up a point that I'd like to address, and I'm going to Dylan with this one. As a narrative device, how did you feel about the illusionist's house and the, getting to see what their greatest fears and what being trapped in them looked like?
I think it's a good way to see into like a deliberate way to see into the insights of the characters as to why they are the way that they are. But my hot take that I was gonna say before has to do with Vigo and like why this was used is I think that Joe really likes writing the Bloody Nine, and he basically just did the same thing with Viga. He's changed some things, obviously, but the character is very reminiscent of Logan in terms of like how they're dealing with things. Because the same thing with the illusion and the tragedy and all that stuff. He constantly saw stuff in first. You know what I mean? Like he dealt with that same kind of thing. So I think he loves writing those tragic characters who are constantly seeking, like they want better for themselves, but they can't have it. That type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think
and they make us want something better for them too, and that's what defines grimdark. Okay, so I've spoken this before on what my definition of grimdark is. So grimdark is the world sucks and nothing that the characters do is going to prevent the world from sucking. Dark fantasy is the world sucks, but there's a chance for the characters to make it better. Traditional fantasy is the world doesn't suck, but somebody else wants it to suck, and the main characters have to stop them. And so Joe writes grimdark, but getting back to our First Law comparison, because that's on here somewhere, I don't feel like I feel like Joe in the First Law tried to make it sound gritty, and I felt him trying to make it sound gritty a lot. I don't think he's tried to make this book sound gritty in the same way. He just made it gritty. And it was so much more natural in his progression as an author. I felt it in this book. It just feels more natural, like he wasn't trying as hard, but he did a great job with it. I don't know if you felt the same way.
I think that's just his experience of writing the series before, right? Like as he moved through the First Law and as he moved through the novellas and as he moved through the second trilogy, like he's found his place with making the world an abysmal, shitty place in terms of things, to where like he doesn't have to try hard. It's just there. You care about these characters and you want stuff to succeed, but it's just not happening, and you're like.
But it's sad. Yeah, but it's sad in a very emotional way. And so I've wanted it. It's emotion underneath the humor, and he wraps it in humor, kind of like a self-deprecating gallows humor, but it's still pretty funny. So have y'all found it funny in spite of all the sadness? Like I've laughed multiple times reading this book. Or listening to it.
I think that's why I love it so much, is because it's made me laugh a lot already.
Yeah, I'm working.
I love the complexity of that.
A magician, necromancer.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. I love the complexity of it, because when you have an author that can take you on a roller coaster of emotions, but leave you feeling good about that, it's really hard to do and pull off well, and this book has done it so well so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it more. This is my favorite book so far this year, other than the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. I kind of set those aside, and I don't count those. And of the other books that I've read, and I've read some good books. I liked Murderbot. That was a really good book. I've read some John Gwynne this year. I hadn't cracked John Gwynne until this year. It was my first experience with John Gwynne this year. I like John Gwynne it's slow though, and it's I'm working at it. I'm still not through Shadow of the Gods. I'm gonna get there, but this book, I can't wait, and it hurts whenever I have to stop this book, and you know that the pacing is good when everybody in the book club with all of our different tastes, and while we have some overlap, there is also some not overlap in our book tastes, and like Dungeon Crawler Carl, I think this has very wide appeal, and is immediately legible. So let's talk about Alex and her learning process for a bit, because it seems like each character is supposed to teach, or the intention that Joe has is that each character teach Alex how to do something that she needs to learn how to do in order to go from a pauper to a princess or a queen or an empress, however we want to go with that. But each, like Vega, let's start with Vega. Like, it's kind of obvious what she needs to learn how to do from Vega. She's got to rip throats out. And have a short memory, because you're going to make mistakes, and Vega makes mistakes and she forgets them immediately. And it's said by multiple characters where they wish that they could move on from mistakes or from trauma like what Vega does. And so I feel like that's Vega's element that they want. What is she supposed to learn from the other characters? And I'll turn this over to y'all.
I would say with Jacob,
Okay.
he's clearly very resilient, even though his body is like basically completely broken at this point. So, I mean, I guess he's going to teach her to always get back up or something to that effect.
Sure.
I think with Sunny, she's learning, don't forget where you came from. Don't forget to see those who aren't seen. Don't forget those, and remember them, and be kind to them, and remember all of your subjects. Because when she gets there, she's going to have a lot on her plate. You got to remember the little guy.
And her invisibility is interesting with that, because that part of her magic system or whatever ties in with her character in a very interesting way as well. And so certainly I think there are things to learn from see you later, Douglas. Thank you, buddy. Follow us, we'll follow you back. We enjoyed
Bye,
your
Doug.
comments. The going back to what I was saying about Sunny, her becoming invisible is very important to her character. And I think the magic system, or at least the affliction of each of the characters in our cast, ties in with their personality in a way that goes beyond just the surface level. They embody their whatever makes them a devil. So, okay, we got Vega, we got Sunny, we got Jacob. Who else?
I think the priest is there to maybe not only teach her a little bit of patience, but to, like, what is religion's big thing in any context? To be in awe of the wonders of the world around you.
Sure.
I think she grew up in a very confined world on the streets, and she's only lived this one kind of life. She's only experienced this one kind of thing. Whereas a priest, he's met many different types of people. He's maybe preached to different types of communities. And so he's maybe seen a lot more of the world and how things work, and can teach her to be in awe of those things instead of immediately afraid or judgmental of them.
Yeah.
And then in that aspect, I think that the other thing is, it's more like his mindset of it is like, oh, sometimes we have to rely on the things that we might not be the most proud of to get things done, right?
Compromise.
It's also teaching her, going back to, rely on don't forget the people who helped you get along the way. And sometimes those people might be bad people. They're bad people in the sense that they have to be bad faith.
They're people who have been cast as bad people. And once you get to know even the devils, once you get to know them, there's more to it than the story that you've been told. And I think we're learning that with each of these characters when they have opportunities to be heroic in their own rights. Balthazar hasn't gotten to be purely heroic yet, but we're working on him, I think. One person that I don't feel like I see as clearly as some of the others is Baptiste. So Baron Rickard, I have a very clear picture of him. It's been interesting to see how he's interacted. I think that you would expect Vega to be the chaos factor, and I think in reality Baron Rickard is going to be more of the chaos factor because he's influencing things in ways that not everybody else is watching in a sense, which is interesting. Anything else on the Baron? Somebody's got to have something on the Baron.
I honestly kind of forgot about him until like 5 seconds ago.
The
He's
vampire?
teaching her
He has his
charisma. He's
motives.
teaching her the charm, right?
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
the
That's what I'm saying,
princess
like-
coach. He's the one that's running around teaching.
It's very much giving Michael Miss Congeniality, the guy who coaches Sandra Bullock,
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
You know what I'm
gosh, I
talking about?
love that. Yes.
Michael Caine, I think is his name. But yeah, that's the
Thank you, very
vibe that
Michael
it's
Caine.
giving. And it's so funny because he's sassy with her, he's sassy with everybody else. He is kind of always ribbing her, but in a way to like make her see his view. And like he's also sprinkling in little jabs at everybody else. And it's just like he's rage baiting sometimes. And I'm just like, hilarious.
And
Hilarious. I love him.
And with that, all of these people, as Alex goes, as the story progresses, each of the people, and we'll use Baron Rickard as an example, they don't feel very invested in Alex's success at the beginning of this narrative. Like they don't care. Like I have the mark on my wrist and I have to, therefore I will. But as the story progresses, you see them watch her and be like, well, no, that's not how you do it. And they're stepping in and they're helping in each of their own ways, teaching her how to write, teaching her how to have presence. Go ahead, Jen. You raise your
I
hand.
was going to say, after I started the book over again and the bonding that they received, one of the important things that comes up is that the Pope makes this emphasis on being kind because it's important to be kind. So it's actually included in the oath, like the oath that they've been sealed to, that they have to be nice to each other in some capacity. So you forget about it, it gets dismissed, nobody's brought it up again, everybody's worried about compliance and protecting, but you forget she made a huge deal about being kind. And so all of a sudden they're interacting together with this kindness element that they maybe weren't predisposed to until they received that binding.
So it goes back to like when our parents told us to play nice with our friends. You know, we realize that when we do that, then we end up being better friends, type of thing. So it's a childish
Something like
command,
that.
but it matters. I think one thing is interesting about that because the papal seal seems to be OP in how
Right.
in how well it compels.
Effective it is.
Why do
It's
you,
like the unbreakable vow in Harry Potter.
except
Yeah.
the Wolf? So how
Right.
did we skip
Wolf
the
is
Wolf?
pulled to it.
It isn't held to the papal seal, which I thought was interesting. Dylan has a thought.
I think it's because truly between Vega and the Wolf, they're two separate entities.
Sure.
Like, so the magic doesn't affect, like you said, like it basically like it has no home. So
It binds one but not the other.
Well, there's two souls. I think
Basically.
is because it's like a soul bond in some way or binding or something. And
Kind of-
we've seen that the magic system has elements of the soul with the the soul splicing and all that. And Jen brought up an interesting point at the beginning, and like we have kind of a paired a homunculi situation where a werewolf is both a wolf and a human, and then she is what the Empress was trying to create in effect, or I guess in a way it's a paired or a mirrored situation. But what were your thoughts, Jen?
I think religion on its best day is supposed to be an instruction on how to enhance humanity so that we can interact better together. On its best day. It's rarely on its best day. So if you think about a papal blessing being something that's supposed to enhance humanity and those skill sets, protect, be kind, right? Like if you continue this mission for the further and the betterment of the world, if it's tied to a humanity aspect, if that's what we're looking at as the baseline of a religion, it's only tied to that. And then on the juxtaposition, if we're looking at what we're fighting against, it's the animal instinct. Somebody else is running around trying to tear souls out, right? And then we get these more animal elements. Does the animal mean that there is a soulless element? So the lack of humanity on the other side. So is it the paralleling that the reason Viga, when she's in her human form, is sealed to the oath is because that's the human side of her versus the inhuman side of her?
And I would love to read Abercrombie's outline on this and like what his thematic intent is, because I see the things that you're stating, and I think that that's very interesting, because you see all these religious figures that have their own motivations and are clearly
They're corrupted.
They're not following the tenets of the faith. So this kid comes out and gives a very simple set of rules that they have to follow, and the devils are actually following the rules or the intent of the scripture better than the cardinals and the priest and the churches. And so ironically, the goal of our fellowship is to bring the church's influence to the godless part of the empire. So I wonder how that's going to fit in with the rest of it. And also, as a side note, we have a lot of religion in this book in a way.
Right.
And we have a lot of magic in this book in a way. And we haven't had any confirmation to or against how Abercrombie is going to treat, God or the deities in this book. And so that's still a missing part of, I don't know if you call religion part of the magic system, but we can for argument's sake. We haven't had that part explained to us yet, or if the Pope's power is tied to or aligned with, actual celestial help of some sort. So I haven't seen that yet, but I'm interested to see if we will, and I'm very excited to continue reading. So, final thoughts. Does anyone have a final thought about the book? I think everybody likes it. Did anyone not like this book?
Sorry, I like it.
You like it? Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
I like it.
I like it. I like it so far. I only came up with one complaint so far, other than it's tropey, but I feel like it's tropey.
No, y'all
by
gotta
intention.
understand. One complaint for Aaron is a new record. Okay,
It's
that
pretty
is the
good.
least amount of complaints we've ever gotten.
It's pretty.
It's
good.
incredible.
Through 2 sections. I've had 2 weeks to build up my thoughts, and I've felt a little cliche in the tropes. I'll say that, but I have to position that against the author's intent in developing the cast and using shortcuts on world building and focusing on the cast, which is not what you'd expect from epic fantasy, but has been done very tastefully here in a way that's made me feel like I was reading a fantasy book just without any of the pain associated with it. And so it's good. It's done well. I like it. Most promising relationship. All right, let's get that out here. If you only had to pick one romance that was going to pan out, who would it be right now? Hot takes. Yeah, I get it. I get it,
I'm
Dylan.
sticking with the lesbian star-crossed lovers, even if there's
I
not
need
that much
them. I need
evidence.
them
All
to be.
right, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Although Brother
I
Diaz
want
and
Vega
Vega are
to
close
love
No,
second.
no. If you're gonna pick the sapphic longing as your answer, just roll with it. So,
I just want
That's
both.
mine.
all right. Well, 2 for sapphic
That's
longing.
Because
Oh, three.
I
Make that
also
three.
want to see the discrimination against the elves gone, okay? And how better to do that than to marry the queen?
I don't know.
I
don't
like
know.
it.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know how much. I want to caution you, Angela. We're reading Joe Abercrombie, and the definition of grimdark is that the world sucks and nothing anyone can do can make it better. So
Okay, I'll still be happy if one of them dies and they have confessed their love for each other.
Okay.
As long as it pans out, I'll be
I
okay.
just don't think that the elves and the humans are gonna have like a wedding that they all show up to and drink together at the end of this thing.
Happily
so.
ever after.
It might be like
Question
a red
is-
wedding situation, but you know.
GRRM
We'll be all right.
is
Is this a
grimdark.
complete book series? Is this
The
a
next book,
standalone, or does
no.
this continue? Do you know?
the next book comes out. What did you say, Kana? It was March of next year or May of
It's-
next year.
Yeah, it's sometime next year. I think it was in the spring, and I think it's
Spring
going to be a
next year.
trilogy too.
And it's going.
Uh,
If I don't find more things to complain about, we're doing a release party for book 2, and we're going right into it, just like we did with Parade of Horribles. So I'm very invested in this book / series so far, but there's still a lot of time for me to find things to complain about. So we will see if it stands up. Jen, your vote for your romance that you're pulling for.
I want Vega to learn to love herself and forgive herself. That's
Okay.
going to be the romance I'm after. Vega on Vega love.
Vegan.
Wow, that
So
was
funny.
so wholesome.
It was wholesome. Yeah, I want Vega to solve Diaz's repression as not quite as much as Dylan does. I think he's
I'm less worried about Diaz finding his own way.
And is it not ever fun to corrupt a priest?
he's already
It's
corrupted.
true.
All right, like it's not Vega
Yeah.
thinking about the priest right now. It is the priest thinking about Vega. So if anyone's got to worry about somebody being a deviant, it's Vega.
Oh, that's
but
happening.
I just don't think she's gonna mind
Yeah.
that much. But the in the same way that I pull for Jensen, Dylan is pulling for Vega right now. So we will see. We will see.
There we
We
go.
will see. Well,
I did point out
go ahead.
real quick is when they were in the House of Illusions, unless I skipped over and don't know what I was reading, I don't remember Baptiste ever having a moment. She was there, but I don't remember seeing her horrors that she was against.
We haven't, and that goes back to what I was saying, that she's currently the least developed character, but
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the recent Balthazar saving Baptiste thing going on, I have to add one thought that I had while reading that just occurred to me. We know that Baron Rickard can affect people's emotions. Could it be that some of these intrusive thoughts that Balthazar and Diaz are having are curated by the vampire to see if it
Little
might be,
puppeteer action.
just to see if it would be funny? I think to entertain himself largely,
but
but
now,
I don't
so
know
now
that,
you're
but
saying we have.
I'm not. I
So
don't
now
know
you're
that.
saying you're suggesting we have Jasper from Twilight now.
I don't know. It would be another trope that might be funny, but
Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't know. But I will say that whenever Balthazar had his first little run of thoughts about Baptiste, it seemed like his intention was to complain about her. And then he went from complaining about her into unintentionally making some sexually charged comments about her, and then realizing what he was saying, be like, wait, no, and then walking off, with a little bit of a blush and uncomfortable situation in his pants. But it would not surprise me if that were slightly curated. And it could have been by Baptiste in a way. I thought that at the moment. I wondered if she was affecting his emotions. But then just now it occurred to me that the only person that has been shown to be able to affect emotions is the vampire. But we haven't gotten any magic from Baptiste. And so far, she's not been developed. But I have a strong feeling that the part 3 of this book, we are going to get to see a good bit more of our pirate queen.
So are we reading all the way through the next part?
I think that's the easiest way to break
please.
this up.
Stop
Okay.
me.
Thank you.
Try
Thank
to
you.
stop me. I mean,
Thank you.
And this was even felt not cliffhanger-ish, but cliffhanger-ish, because I really wanted to keep going. Because we don't exactly know how the sea battle resolved at this point. But regardless, we're going through the next section on the next one. This is the best attendance that book club has ever had. So cheers and claps for everybody on that. This was fun.
That was so fun. And our new
It-
people, you guys fit right in. We love you.
It didn't even feel like an hour and 15 minutes at all.
Are you saying it usually does? Just sound like me complaining?
You
right now?
complain a lot. That takes up a lot of our time.
Somebody,
Angela, I'm dead.
somebody has to be grumpy. Okay, Carl is grumpy. It's part of the it's part of the tension that you have to create in a group. Somebody has to be grumpy. So, I do
It's
that
true.
for you, Angela. Just so you know, I create that entertaining tension. Okay, well, I very much look forward to seeing everybody next week. This was a whole lot of fun. And if you watch or tune in from outside, this is the Fantasy Book Dungeon. I think this is, how many weeks of this have we got going now? I think we're on like week 10 or 12.
I mean, we finished 3. Well, I guess not 3 books yet, but
We're on
it's
book
been
3.
a hot minute. Ever since the first
Technically-
night we did it was in May before Parade of Horribles.
I was gonna say technically this is like our 4th or 5th book because we did Parade of Horribles, then we did Catabasis, and then we did Night in the Moth, and now we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She blocked
Look at
out.
us.
She blocked out Catabasis.
Oh my
did.
god.
It's
It was
not-
rough.
It was so bad.
Are we gonna torture the new people and force them to read it?
It should be like,
Like we
hazing.
discussed?
It should be hazing.
Yeah.
Is it like a gauntlet thrown? Gotcha.
It's
Exactly.
It's its own circle of hell. It's its own circle of hell. That's what it is.
It's a book about hell, and it really feels like it.
Ugh.
It was rough. This is officially. I just counted because I have a folder for each one of my outlines and the back the notes that I take to do them, and this is number 12 confirmed. So until next
Nice.
week for lucky number 13 and part 3 of the Devils. Have a great night, guys.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.